Why would you read through a series of books that are 800 pages long on their own, but not through a series of books that are 300 pages long on their own? Well, the answer is mystery and the author's ability to create and destroy it properly. Today, in this video, we're going to be taking a look at mystery and the ways in which it can be used. And now let's debunk what mystery is. What is mystery? Well, let me know that in your own words. I hear a few people saying suspense. I hear a few people saying not knowing enough about something. I hear a few people saying interest. All three of those answers are absolutely correct. But guess what? They are partly correct on their own. Now let's actually define mystery. Now let me say that I did not have this, that I'd have jinxed that. Let me say I don't have this hand. If I made the video without having that hand, you'd be curious as to where it went. You'd search up about my condition. You'd go on and try to put a comment trying to be more kind towards me. All of those things, right? Now, I have this hand. Why don't you do that? Well, the answer to that question is very simple. There is no mystery. It is as it is in its usual form, and you are not tempted to do anything about it. So, what is mystery? Well, it is a want to go on a search for the unknown, let's just say. And how do you create it? By putting the unknown in there and keeping it unknown. We're going to talk about the ways in which we can do that right now. Entering the ways to use mystery, the first way is plain and simple. That is, incorporating the unknown directly into your worldbuilds. What do I mean by that? Well, it's a simple story. Let me actually show you something. This is a tiger, and this is a lion, and this is a liger. What do you think is more interesting? The tiger or the lion or the liger? Well, most likely many people's answer would in fact be the liger. People have a want to look at the unusual things, so their eyes naturally gravitate towards those things. Now, let's take a look at my story. I'm not doing this as a flex, but I just want to show you something that you can take away, right? So this is a amphiphant. A very weird name for an elephant, right? That's because it can also swim. It can swim deep underwater. It's because it has this snout that is capable of pushing out water when it's inside, just like a whale. So I thought, why not just make it a swimming animal that can also use land sometimes? Now, let's take a look at this. A spring hound. What the hell is a spring hound? Well, it has coiled up muscles that store and release kinetic energy very well. And as a result, it is able to jump very high distances because of that. That's not the only part about these two species though. They have a lot of other special things inside of them. Now that I introduced you to these two creatures, you were interested about both of them, right? Why? Because they were new and hence they contained mystery. You can also incorporate this in your flora. Now, hear this story about a kraken tree. The kraken tree is a tree that saps nutrients away from the island, the nutrients that are never used, the nutrients that are buried too deep for any piece of foliage to dig into. Okay, that kraken tree, that intro sounded good, right? But there's a plethora of other things about that kraken tree. You would really want to learn about that, right? So I built curiosity by telling you only a little bit and keeping everything else in reserve. Now, that has to do something with way 2. Let me actually get that. Show, don't tell. This is one of the more ancient methods of using mystery. However, it is still very effective till date, even. So let's talk about show, don't tell. Now, let me tell you about a scene that I was experiencing inside of my head when I designed a cave. The cave was cool. Cool. The cave was cool. So that's all you thought about. But you aren't really fascinated about it. Why? Because there is no mystery that enables you to go on the search for how it feels like. Oh shit. Yeah, that was a bee. The perks of shooting in nature. So let's talk about what it is now. From the outside, the cave looked crystal lit. There were moving bright blue hue patterns visible to us. The entrance was small enough to barricade, and the tavern was big enough for the 3 of us to live in. Entering the rough tunnel-like passage, I encountered a myriad of weird things. The first of which was that the inside wasn't only big enough for the 3 of us, but rather big enough for 3 shutter sharks even. Others were milder, such as disc-like ponds connected and lit by pink, tall, glowy stalagmites of crystal and crimson moss that grew on the roof and between the rock cracks. Surprisingly enough, there were none we had to coexist with. In the canal, I laid down the now asleep Kai on a thick pillar-like rock that would support him, and put down a mouth-open Naomi and began to search for boulders to barricade the entry at night. This scene is really cool. So, you haven't told the audience how to feel, but they find it out for themselves. Why? It is mysterious for them. It's a mystery that they should be figuring out. Like, how should I feel? That's the mystery you're creating, right? So that's the second way to use mystery. Now, let us actually think about a third way to use mystery. This is a really good one, so I suggest staying tuned for the third one rather than just leaving. Yeah. So this is the final most way that I will be speaking of in this video. There are a plethora of ways that I have not discussed in this video. So if you want to, you can put it in the comment section for your brethren to read. Okay? So let's continue with the video. Third way. What is it? Well, now let's take Ash Ketchum from Pokemon and let's actually take a look at his life. It is very interesting how he manages to stay a 10-year-old for 10 freaking years. That by itself is a huge mystery, but we're not gonna talk about that mystery alone. Now, imagine if Ash could actually die in a Pokemon battle. How much more interesting does that make things look? It's essentially like how Minecraft peaceful mode feels. It's all nice, it's all easy, but where's the thrill? When you go down a cave in Minecraft's peaceful mode, there isn't the mystery of whether a zombie will get behind me and push me into the lava pool that's in front of me. There is no mystery of whether I'd agitate an Enderman without even knowing that I agitated an Enderman. So, you give yourself this one thing, stakes, and everything start to feel a lot more mysterious in a sense, because a lot of things can happen. Imagine if in your story when the character goes near a very shutter shark like creature and he just tries to punch into its mouth, its tongue, and it just cuts his hand off. That'll create a sense of fright, and now people will know that yes, the world is real. Yes, you can't keep messing with it. There is a possibility. There is the mystery of death looming around. And these are the three ways in which you could be using mystery. There are a plethora of other ways, which you can put down in the comment section for your brethren, as I said earlier. And that's it for this video. If you wanna hear more things related to world building and story writing and all of these shenanigans, then hit the subscribe button with the bell icon and just check out the other videos. Yeah, goodbye.